was out there in the night sky, stared up at the stars in the hopes of seeing something out of the ordinary? Have you heard unexplainable noises coming from a vacant room, or watched a shadow cross the wall in front of you? Have you asked yourself if there is life after this one, or if you had life before? What about strange creatures that are mythical and elusive? Have you experienced deja vu or felt a prompting to leave because you felt you were in danger? If you have, you were on the fringe.
We lost Jess. She's going to try again here. I just got a deal. She's having internet issues. She is. So welcome to another exciting episode of What If Tomorrow on the Fringe. I'm Mark. This is
I'm Pam.
Co-host Pam. Jess will be along shortly, and our special guest, not to be confused with, being special. That's me. Is Enzo Cyril.
Yay!
Thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you. Now, I did Enzo a disservice. I invited him late because I value his input on these things, and so he's coming at it cold, so he gets to go at this without research, much like, somebody would if they ran across this article on the internet. So it's going to be kind of a fun approach to blindside our friend Enzo.
What it really means is they didn't have quite enough information to fill out the full show, so they needed me for some color commentary.
I think I've got enough information for a couple of shows, unless
I'm sure
I just
you
go
do.
through it really fast. And I actually have a very long list of sources that I can post in the show notes for once. So, yay me!
Good job.
Yeah,
The ladies
one thing
have
is
been.
all three of you do like excellent research on everything. It's like, why are they pulling me at the last second? What's going on?
Because you're fun to hang out with.
Honestly, yeah, that's exactly it. We were just sitting here. I almost invited Enzo. Why don't we just do that?
We're like, go for it.
It's only 4 minutes before the show starts. Sure.
Yeah.
And look, you already had a Hawaiian shirt on, so you're ready to go.
It is my uniform. I am always ready to go.
Just in case, huh? Very
Sweet.
smart.
All right. Well, tonight we are talking about. Yes, Ian, I have done my homework. Well, I usually do some homework. I've done a lot of homework on this. I kind of started going down the rabbit hole, and I may go farther down this rabbit hole because it's deep. So,
It's very cool, though.
it is very cool. We're going to talk about 3 sites. We're going to talk about the Kalambo structure, or Zambia preserved water, or preserved log structure, as it's sometimes called. We're going to talk about Wonderwerk Cave, and that's in German, Wonderwerk, W-E-R-K. And then we're going to talk about Blombos Cave. Now, for those of you who are listening and watching, I apologize for butchering all these languages. But if you are a regular, you already know that I butcher my own language. So
It's part of our charm. We all do it.
it's all is fair. All is fair. So we're going to talk about the Kalambo structure first. It is a rare lower Paleolithic. See, I'm already butchering. Wooden structure found at Kalambo Falls on the Kalambo River in Zambia. Basically, it's several logs that are notched out like a log cabin, stacked on each other to provide a structure. They think it might have been like a walkway or a wooden road instead of a building. But due to flooding and whatever and waterlogged river sediments with low oxygen, these have been preserved for hundreds of thousands of years. How many hundreds of thousands of years do you ask? Why, 476,000 years, which there's thinking predates, and it may not, Homo sapiens, which means that this was built by one of our quote unquote more primitive ancestors or another hominid. They're not sure which one. So we have said it many times on the show. Our ancestors were not dumb. You know, these
They were not.
cartoon caveman you see, I don't think we ever really, I think you have to go back way, way farther to find those. So the upper log has an intentionally cut U-shaped notch that locks onto the lower log, making a timber joint. That's pretty sophisticated.
Lincoln logs.
It's
It is.
basically Lincoln
Pretty much.
logs. And, you know, that's not easy to do, especially if you're using stone tools. So, I mean, like I said, they're not even sure what it was for. The predominant theory right now is kind of a walkway or the base or foundation of like a house or some other structure. Or
How actually? What's the actual size of these logs? How big are they?
let me see.
Find the site that I had up.
I really do not have. I can ask real quick. How large are the logs? At Kalambo. See, I can't even talk. I can't even type without talking.
I was just kind of curious how they determined that it was like a road or a pathway, or because there's not that many of them, right? There's only like
1.4 meters.
Okay,
So about 6-8 feet,
a little less.
somewhere
Yeah.
around there. Well, 1.4, probably 5 or 6 feet.
Yeah,
Between 5 and 6. 4'6", it says. So there you go.
there you go.
Well, and then in ancient times, 4 or 5 feet was a pretty good road. You know, most
True.
people were probably getting around on game trails and whatnot. There are other wooden artifacts at the site. There's a wooden wedge that was used to split wood, probably, or maybe to split rocks. Digging stick, modified branches and stakes. There were no small tools. The trees were felled, and they were about 8 to 10 inches around. So they were good sized logs. You know, if anybody has ever picked up an 8 to 10 inch log that's almost 5 feet, I could do it by myself when I was younger. I would not have enjoyed it.
Yeah, it would not be the funnest thing to do.
It would not be the funnest thing to do. So, that's important, and they had to think about that. They had to fell the trees. They had to notch it out, and that's all that they have found so far that I know of.
They found some different things there, but
Just little bitty bricks and brats.
I just popped that at the bottom, Mark. If you want to pull that picture up, it'll show
Perfect.
the two They don't look like much, but they're really impressive if you know what you're looking at.
Yeah. So, what's impressive is that they have lasted almost 500,000 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wood disappears fairly quickly. And this is going to lead into something. We're going to discuss that. Well, we might as well do it now. So we've often talked about what if there was a early civilization, what we would consider, not what we would consider advanced, no cell phones or stuff like that. But what if the reason we can't find signs of an earlier civilization is because it was a wooden and cloth and fiber civilization? All that stuff would be gone in a few decades, or definitely a century. So these items purposely notched out by human beings, or I don't care what species of predecessor it was, I consider them human beings. We have their DNA running through our veins. We have a structure that was intentionally built by our ancestors 500,000 years ago.
And the cool part is, when the archaeologists were looking for this, they were looking for tools. They didn't even think that they would be finding a structure of any type, because they were digging pretty far down when they found it.
Yeah, it was deep.
It was deep, and the only reason that it's stayed around being wood like it is the soil is so oxygen deprived at that level that it's at.
Yeah,
that it was able to stay together.
So these are and I think this one was discovered in 2012. I want to say, I've got it in my show notes. It'll be up online.
2019, I think, is what I'm showing.
Anyway, I'm surprised we haven't heard of this before now. All this stuff is really just coming to light through. And this is big. This should have been everywhere.
Well, there's a good reason why it's not. You know this, right?
Well, yeah, because 20 years ago, they would have covered it up and destroyed it.
100%.
Because it does not fit the narrative. It does not get people grant money. There's probably going to be some religious kickback for all this, because it rewrites a lot of stuff.
It does. In fact, I saw a quote on it, and researchers called it a disruptive discovery, and for that very reason.
Yeah, and really, and even then, if you just say it's part of the antediluvian civilization before Noah, that would be correct. Because that's almost 500,000 years.
Right. And it's only through extenuating circumstances that we even have this little bit of evidence that we do, because it just happened to be where it was and how it was configured
just the right way.
And that goes the same for any kind of like petrified type stuff or things like that. It has to be a very specific set of circumstances, environmental conditions for petrified, like bones, like the stuff we find from dinosaurs and things like that, and going that far back. There's way more.
Dinosaur fossils are fairly rare. We see about them all the time, but they're very rare. And some of these species, like the T-Rex, I think we've only got like 3 or 4 entire skeletons.
Not many.
Okay, they lived literally for millions of years. And we only have 4 or 5 examples of full skeletons.
The fact that we find anything, honestly.
The fact that we find anything is pretty amazing. Finding something so soft as wood that has survived 476,000, give or take 23,000 years, it says. That is amazing. And if you say plus or minus 23,000 years, that could go hit 500,000.
Mhm.
on the outside
Just
end.
in that range, and that's impossible to even conceive that many years for many people, because if you look at a modern day, and by modern I even mean just within the last couple of hundred years,
Yeah,
we'll say early America, 1776, and even before that, there were whole towns and cities and things like that, mostly made of wood.
Yep.
And how many of those survive until today? Unless somebody important lived there, and there's like
Right.
whole industries that are designed to preserve those sites for
3 miles from
historical
here
reasons.
across the river, we had a town, St. Paul, that there is literally nothing left but a few foundations.
Yeah.
All the buildings have
A
just
cemetery.
disappeared.
That's about
And a
it.
cemetery.
Yeah.
So
all this stuff made of stone or
Yeah.
it's
cement.
been 100
Yeah.
years ish.
Yeah.
And it's all gone. There's nothing out there. You're not going to find, if you get out there with a metal detector, you'll probably find some nails and stuff.
That'd be
But
about it, though.
There's no wood left. That's 100 years, 500,000 years. That is incredible.
It is. You know, and when you're talking about rewriting human history, what that's going to do, on top of everything else, it's going to challenge the idea that these early humans, that they weren't simple or primitive, like we were talking about a little bit ago.
No,
And it suggests that they had the skills to plan and to engineer, you know, and to adapt environmentally, and even possibly have communal building. And so, could you imagine if wood was preserved as well as stone?
yeah.
Our entire understanding.
Planning, carpentry, building skills, thinking and reasoning.
Mhm.
Well, and even just from, if you're going to go, you know, these were cavemen, and a couple of them got together and banged a few pieces of wood, and it just happens to fall in just the right way, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It still is going to, if you're going to go just strict survival, okay, they're primitive cavemen living hand to mouth every day. How many calories did they have to go out and forage for, or hunt for, and water, and then whatever their shelter is, which, you know, the classic cave is, it's pre-built for you. You can just move in.
And there's
That
not
kind of
that
an
many
idea.
caves. I mean,
No.
you can't have an entire species of people living in caves. Caves are not as common as you think, unless you're in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there's
Well,
caves everywhere.
Darren Kuyu is where I thought you were going to go, but
Well,
that's a whole other show.
yeah, then there's a whole other deal there. So,
But for that kind of a environment where, you know, these are cavemen, they're not going to have time out of their day to build log structure, you know, Lincoln log type structures, or even to learn how to do that, because most of their day is going to be foraging for food and water, and then, you know, defending whatever property they might have collected in one spot somehow from other people or animals.
and that brings up something else that suggests a group or society
Exactly.
type
Because-
environment where some people go out and do the foraging, some people stay and do the building, other people do the prep and the creation of tools. That's a division of labor. That's a fairly complex process.
Mhm.
It is.
I know, because I have been a boss in places around before. By the way, I never want to be the boss again, ever. It's
No.
terrible.
Being the boss kind of
Sucks.
stinks.
Being the boss sucks. So the fact that they were already coming up with these concepts almost 500,000 years ago, this is significant.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I mean, well, even if you busted it down to the most basic thing, where it was like two dudes that were building this structure that we're talking about, you know, forming up notched logs and fitting them together to form some type of structure, whatever it was exactly. While they're doing that, while they're felling the trees and notching them out and moving them into position, all that stuff, whatever that time that they spend doing that is not spent foraging for food and getting water and all that stuff. So someone else needs to do that for
Or
them.
defense.
Or
because
defense. Yeah. All the
You
all
had
the things.
megafauna back then that would eat you whole.
Yes, saber-toothed tigers and stuff like that.
You're
Yeah,
not wrong.
it was not a safe environment.
Dire
So that's
wolves.
another thing you
Yeah.
have to have. That you had to some sort of defense
Mhm.
or lookouts or what have you. So really, the more you dig into this, the more it suggests, and it's mind-blowing, really. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Half a
and
million
it
years.
also shows, they weren't, if they were building structures, they weren't nomadic wanderers, like a lot of the thought was back at the time that's what they were. If they're building these semi-permanent structures,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. And they're using complex tools to do it because the we showed you the two pieces of wood. One of them is actually knotted out in a U shape, and there are tool markings on it showing that it was
Yeah,
done intentionally. So, yeah,
the tool marks are still there.
they are.
Julie in the chat says, it upsets me when people say aliens created everything because people were unable to build things so long ago. Not as long as this, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, Julie, I really do, because our ancestors were not dumb.
No.
I don't care. If they were human, they were smart enough to build. And by golly, we've showed them. Hey, and this timeline, I've got some stuff that we're going to talk about that blows this timeline out of the water as we get farther.
We're already gone back 500,000 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's only 500,000 years. You want to talk about Wonderwerk Cave next?
Sure.
Let's talk about Wonderwerk Cave. So this is, it's a 140-meter long cave in the Crewman Hills of North Cape, South Africa, with about 6 meters of sediment deposits that span nearly 2 million years of history.
That's just mind-boggling.
So we're going to, all right, this part's going to get you. The earliest evidence of human cave occupation, stone tools linked to the Old Awan tool tradition, simple flakes and choppers have been found in deposits dated about 1.8 to 2 million years ago. So again, not strictly Homo sapiens.
No.
Previous hominids. So once again, our ancestors were not stupid. They could do stuff. They could build stuff. So we've got stone flake tools that are around 2 million years old found in this cave.
And not only that, you have to take into consideration that where this is, it's deep inside this cave.
Yeah.
So it was total darkness where they were doing this. So they had to have determined a way to bring light source, into that area.
It's next on my list. So deep inside the cave, researchers have discovered burnt bone, charcoal, ash, and burned sediment in the contents dated to about 1 million years ago, widely interpreted by the powers that be as the controlled use of fire by early humans. So now we have fire 1 million years ago, controlled fire 1 million years ago.
Which is unheard of if you follow everything that is.
We follow everything we were taught when I was a kid. This is science fiction. You're a fool. You're
absolutely
going to go to hell. All that stuff.
Blasphemy.
It's blasphemy. Yeah.
Back in our day, they were talking like 30,000 years ago. We were, living like Fred Flintstone kind of a.
And you were a freak if you said 100.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was outrageous.
Oh no, there was no.
The illusion you were given, especially as a kid, is we were still monkeys swinging from the trees 100,000 years ago.
Yeah. So we have in Wonderwerk Cave fire 1 million years ago, controlled fire. This is important because in a cave setting, ruling out it rules out an accidental fire. It didn't.
Yes.
Lightning didn't strike, 150 meters back in the cave.
No.
If it did, then Thor was there, because lightning doesn't move that way.
Avengers assemble in the middle of the cave.
Yeah, that's right. Julie says it's hard to wrap her mind around that amount of time. It is.
It is, yeah.
It's tough.
This is crazy stuff we're talking about. If we would have talked about this 20 years ago, even, we would have been laughed out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. This is crazy. And
We would have heard that prove it. If you think it's possible, prove it. And now they've proven it. So
yeah. And see, here's something that I was wondering a little bit ago as I was going through all this stuff that I've collected. How much stuff of this, like this, has been found over the last 200 years or 300 years that has been destroyed or covered up because it was inconvenient?
we ran into that when we were talking about Gloria Farley and the runestones that were found around Heavener. She knows of at least two, what was it, 2 or 4, might have been 4, that were destroyed intentionally.
Yeah.
Because she asked one guy, where did, he's telling her, well, I saw this, it was at the top of this cliff. And she's like, tell me where it's at so I can go find it. And he's like, yeah, I pushed it off and it just exploded at the bottom. Sorry. And she's just like, why?
And that wasn't even malicious. I'm talking about the malicious destruction of stuff.
Oh,
because it's just inconvenient for the narrative. It doesn't push the narrative.
And if you look at some of the tools, the primitive tools, they if you didn't have a discerning eye and know what you were looking for,
you couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell, and it would be very easily overlooked. So the fact that anything is found is amazing. It's hard telling how many things are just walked over, that are significant that we don't know about.
Yeah. So let's get a little farther into this cave. So they've got a long sequence of stone tool industries. There was Oldowan. I'm butchering these names. Acheulean, which is the Middle Stone Age, and then later Stone Age artifacts. So this cave, by the way, was continually visited for multiple millions of years by different hominid groups. It's a fairly large cave, so it would have been fairly useful.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So the Wonderwerk sediments preserve pollen, plant remains, animal fossils. That really shows a lot about the ancient environment, species changes, and climate over huge timescales. Wonderwerk Cave is one of the oldest well-dated human occupation sites anywhere in the world. It provides direct evidence of early hominin behavior, tool-making, fire use, cave dwelling, and long-term change across deep prehistory. So, we've been talking about things not being what they've seemed for a while now, a couple of years. And I'm finally starting to see some of this stuff pop up in the mainstream. Like I say, when I'll read some of our source material here towards the end to tell you where but I'm going to put it in the show notes tonight, just because it's you've got to read all these different articles. It's crazy.
There's some really good stuff in Nature and Scientific American that I ran across on this.
Yeah. So
they think that Homo habilis is the one that was occupying Wonderwerk's cave, but it could have been any other.
Yeah, I'm going to show a picture, actually. Yeah. Here's some of the tools that they found. So they don't look like much. I'm some of the ones on the top here, I probably would have recognized as being shaped intentionally, but some of the others, maybe not.
Look at that picture right there that you just scrolled over top to the left.
To my left?
Yeah, to the left of the screen left. Like it's that one that's off the screen. It's kind of behind our pictures. Yeah, that one. That's the one that I was thinking of. I would not have. How many stones have we seen like that around here? That
well, and you have to look really hard to see where it was flaked off intentionally. That looked like maybe a hand axe.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That could be a lot of things.
Yeah. So, and then we have these are cutters, most likely. Honestly, my eyesight isn't good enough to read what they're labeled because it's small. I'm
very
old.
small. I'm not even going to try. I can read it if my life depended on it.
They're showing fine removals at the tip, cortex, hinge fractures, unifacial removals. They're showing the tool marks on the tools. So,
trying to figure out what the bottom one is, what that was used for.
I really can't.
Honestly, especially that lower right part, it kind of looks to me. My first impression was that's like a key that would fit into a.
It kind of does, doesn't
lock.
it? That's interesting.
I would say it's probably for fine cutting or chiseling.
Yeah.
The round part would be like where you held it, maybe for a drill or something.
Yeah.
Or for notching stuff.
I was going to say it looks like not that it's American Indian, but it looks like an American Indian style scraper.
Oh,
it could very well be. I mean, there's
you would use the sharp, really pointy part at the top for the small crevices and stuff in the hide, and then the wide part to take long sections on the hide.
Very likely. Like I said, I'm not an expert on stone tools. I mean, I've seen a few, but those ones, I would have probably been able to decipher as being tools just because of the chip patterns. They can went all the way around. They're showing that the Oldowan tools appear very deep inside the cave, not just at the entrance. So it shows that they explored it. So that was 2.0 to 1.8 million years ago. And then the Acheulean technology was 1.7 to 1 million years ago.
Yeah.
And you've got larger, more refined steel tools, including hand axes. That suggests improved planning, motor skills, and repeated site use. 1 million years ago, we've got the controlled use of fire. There's strong evidence that the fire was made and managed and not carried in by wildfires or lightning.
Yeah.
500 to 300,000 years ago, we've got the transition to Middle Stone Age behaviors. We've got more varied tool types, increasing efficiency in raw material use, evidence of this is a big one. Evidence of organized living spaces.
That's huge.
That is huge. That's a society developing.
Yeah.
That's people saying we need to do this over here to keep it separate from this. We're going to sleep over here, away from the stench and away from the smoke. That's cognitive reasoning.
Yeah. Well, they're settling. They're settling in.
Yeah, and spatial
they're not
planning.
thinking I'm going to move and I'm moving out of here in a week. So there's no point in creating anything of permanence. So
right.
Making it a home.
Yeah, once you start that settlement process, then people start having a little bit of time to do this and that, and they can have a room for this and a room for that.
And I'm wondering if they look around in the sediment around this, if they start possibly finding evidence of more temporary structures, maybe made out of wood, or, it's Africa, it could be wattle and daub type structures. Those do not hold up well to the elements at all.
Yeah.
So you would be looking for stone tools or such like that, bones, that show that they've been broken and cleaned with tools and whatnot. I really do wonder if they look around the area if they'll find evidence of stuff like that.
I'm
Where
sure they
the
will,
cave was the base, but they grew out of it, and it's just
obviously they didn't live there forever because they're not still there. So
they're not still there. No.
yeah.
Well, 300,000 to 40,000 years ago in the Middle Stone Age, they find finer tools with prepared core techniques, increased use of pigments, and possible symbolic behavior. So, like I said, the roots of symbolic thought and culture. They're doing art. They're putting images up on the walls. And then 40,000 years ago to recent, you've got microlithic tools, rock art, rock paintings, engraved stones that very clearly shows symbolism and complex thought. So,
You can almost see like the evolution of the species in one cave.
In one cave, yeah. So, and this is one of the reasons why Wonderwerk is such a big deal, is because it does show hominid development through literally millions of years. 2-million-year-old stone tools. So
incredible.
That's crazy.
It is incredible.
So it is one of the longest continuous archaeological records of human behavior anywhere. It shows intentional tool use, controlling fire deep underground, and returning to the same place for nearly 200 years. So what you get, and our DNA shows it, is our early ancestors interbred quite a bit. So as the earlier groups interbred with newer groups, then the newer groups started coming through the cave too, because it's obviously a good spot. Don't waste a good spot. And so their descendants kept coming back because it was such a good spot.
And even that would be educational 500,000 years later, just someone wandering in where, for whatever reason, through disease or war or whatever, maybe somebody left that place. It keeps getting rediscovered, and they're like, oh, look, you can see, this is where they set up the fire, and this is where they killed all the animals and skinned them over here. We can do that same thing. It's already pre-laid out for us. We'll just take it over again.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. And the time scale is amazing.
It is.
All right, so we're going to move on, and then we're going to discuss all three of these together. Excuse me while I mispronounce it terribly again. Blombos Cave. That is, where is that? I forgot to write down where that was. Anyway, that was 100,000 to 70,000 years ago, and they've got
near Cape Town, South Africa.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Africa. I was trying to find the exact.
Yeah, it is actually not too far. If that's the truth, then Wonderwerk Cave is actually.
It's pretty close.
So it's very close to the other one. So we're talking probably the same groups of people. They've got engraved ochre with geometric patterns, shell beads, pigment processing toolkits that they found. They've got shared symbols.
This one might have been my favorite, and it's because of the fact that they found, ochre markings, intentional hashtag on a stone. It wasn't carved in; it was actually drawn on.
I keep seeing that. You have that image. We can all look at that.
Yeah, hang on.
I probably do. So, I do have some images here too, so I'll put mine up while she finds hers. So I got.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
the one I
so
keep seeing. Just doing a quick look.
Here's the cave.
On the water too.
Yeah, it's right on the water.
Yeah,
I think this is one Josh Gates may have gone to.
he may have.
I seem to think maybe not. Then they found, carved decorative patterns. So, that's art.
Hmm.
And who knows what that was before, a million years ago.
Yeah.
Shelby, they poked holes in them to put them on a string.
Oh, for sure.
And-
Yeah.
So we've got, this is, they've got oysters and whatnot. So they were fishing. They were getting food. I want to say this is one that Josh Gates went to
Mhm.
a few years back. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. I often am wrong. So don't sue me. And here's some pictures of what some of the stuff may have looked like. Strong.
Is this the origin of the puka shell necklace?
Kind of looks like it, doesn't it?
It really does.
That's funny.
They were pretty. And then we've got, various stone tools and stuff that they found. So,
There's down below, Mark. I have that, the stone with the drawing on it. It
Yeah.
doesn't look like much, but it's huge.
yeah. Yeah, 73,000-year-old doodle.
Yeah,
That's
and it's at least 30,000 years older than the oldest drawing that they knew of before now.
right. This is big. Humans are
And Blombos Cave itself, it's tiny. It's only like 13 cubic meters.
actually it's near the Indian Ocean coastline, 300 kilometers east of Cape Town, 34 meters above sea level, overlooking what would have been a rich coastal hunting and foraging grounds. It's about 55 meters squared in living area. So that's fairly big. During the Ice Age, sea levels were often 60 to 120 meters lower, meaning the shoreline would have been several kilometers further out, exposing a large coastal plain rich in animals and shellfish. I believe this is the one that Josh went to.
Could be.
I'll have to find that episode and watch it again.
I was going to mention that over time, 73,000 years ago or even older, that coastline would have gone in and out over the
Several times
Over
as
the
the ice formed.
millennia.
And melted. Yeah.
And they found this stone, but it's probably not the oldest one that existed because they did find evidence of liquid ochre pigment production dating back 100,000 years. So,
So
was
they're showing 100 to 90,000 years ago. Early habitation layers show stone tools, hearths, animal bones, marine shell remains. And then 100,000 years ago, they've got the ochre processing workshop, which you were just discussing. Inside, abalone shells were powdered red ochre, crushed bone, charcoal. So, like eye makeup or what have you. Stone tools used for grinding. And it was probably made for making paint or paste. For body decorations, painting the walls, hide preservation, maybe, ritual marking, and symbolic communication. Is considered one of the earliest known chemical processing activities by humans. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I think the coolest part isn't even that. It's the teeth that they found. Did you guys read about the teeth?
the teeth.
I have read
Yeah.
about. I believe
They found no like full skeletons or full bones. They did, however, find 7 teeth And when they looked at them, they realized they were of the age of the cave, of this original stuff, but they were modern sized.
Yeah.
They weren't the big, chunky, fat teeth that belonged to, Neanderthals or, they
Well,
were modern, our size teeth.
Yeah, and so we now have recent evidence, and I'll probably have to do that in another show, and we've talked about it before. They're now saying Homo sapiens was running around 300,000 years ago. That's
Probably.
big. That's big.
Yeah, it's blowing everything that we know about our history apart, what they're finding now.
Yeah,
I think it's cool that they're actually talking about what they're finding now, as opposed to sweeping it all under the rug.
Considering that we have went literally from the Stone Age to putting men on the moon and possibly going to Mars in 10,000 years, let's just say. It may not have been a civilization the way we would think of a civilization, but think what would have been possible over 300,000 years, over 1,000,000 years. I mean, we're talking, there were probably kings and nobles. They may have tried democracy. You don't know that all that history is gone. Just these little remnants, and it's mind-boggling.
Look at some of the spots that we don't know how long they've been around, that are stone. You got Göbekli Tepe, all of those. We don't know when they actually started, because you can't really carbon date stone.
You only know what's there. And Göbekli Tepe, as we discussed a show or two ago, is much bigger than just the one site. Now they're finding all these other little sites, so we're not just talking about a one-off.
We're talking like hundreds in that area.
Multiple sites where people were living and working and doing whatever they did.
I was watching something on PBS the other day, and it was talking about, I think it was Göbekli Tepe, but they found it, and they found some more sites around there that are basically the same thing within certain, amount of away from it. But some of them, they're seeing what looks like probably earthquake damage, because that area is riddled with earthquakes anyway. But some of the larger stones were very damaged to the point to where they could tell that there had been structures built up further up on the cliffs that probably fell down onto the other structures. And so it got to be a point in time where it just wasn't safe. Good to be there. It wasn't safe. Yeah. So they moved on, and then they started keeping, animals, like lamb and things like that, to sheep, and got more into actually
animal husbandry and whatnot.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
And that's a big deal too.
Yeah. That's a huge step forward.
Ian says, great Wi-Files podcast just dropped on Göbekli Tepe this evening. Definitely worth a listen. Ooh. I'll tell you what, I am a huge fan of the Wi-Files.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that new basement series that he started a few weeks back is really good too, where he does like the Joe Rogan style, the long format interview, breaking it down with people. So that one last week. So
yeah,
it's stuff you can look up yourself, but
that's the difference between watching an amateur like us, and somebody who actually has some production skill and whatnot. So I love the discussion. I love to include people in the discussion, which is the whole point of the show. We're just normal people talking about stuff.
Cool stuff that we found.
This is pretty cool stuff. I'm not going to lie. So now we're still in Blombos Cave. Now we're up to 75,000 years ago. So we've got the engraved ochre, the early symbolic art, the crosshatch grid design, made using sharp tools.
Yeah.
Sharp tools. So there might be blood there, because I know how I am with sharp tools. I should be kept away from them. Pam, too. Yes, Pam. Look at Pam.
Unsafe at any speed.
Yes,
or with
even standing
tools
still.
too. Any tools.
What's
Yes.
that from? What did you do?
Mandolin accident.
The vegetable slicer mandolin, not the mandolin.
Yeah, not
yourself.
the, not the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were getting like too crazy with your. She was rocking it too hard and just.
Yeah, she
No.
was rocking hard with that mandolin.
Yeah,
I found M&M.
I was using, it's got a safety thing on it, but I'm stuck in a chair right now, and I was too lazy to try to stand up and do this, so I'm sitting in the chair and just had my hand right at that right angle to,
Ooh.
yeah, big old chunk out of it.
All my little fingers and toesies just shriveled up.
That's not ochre in her paintings.
No, that's not ogre.
Nope, it was not. It bled too. It bled for
DNA.
I thought I was starting to get worried because 2 hours later it was still bleeding pretty good. So
Gee.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was rough.
All right. Well, 75,000 years ago is when they also dated 60 perforated Nassarius shell beads. They were drilled, worn on strings, and painted ochre. So wearing beads implies, group membership, status, communication, possibly money.
Could be.
Barter.
Very well
Yeah.
could be.
And it could have just been, I want to look pretty.
It would be easy to say, why would they use shells for money? Why do we use paper for money? They would look at what we use and be like, what is this?
Having a
Yeah.
place close to the ocean like that, if you're making art where people would like that, and especially if they're using it for like some type of identity, I'm part of this tribe or whatever.
Right.
This is your unique thing. That's a barter item. That's there were certainly a lot of beads going back and forth for barter items in North America back in the day. Things like that.
Sure.
That's not that unusual. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And the tools they found at Blombos belong to the Still Bay industry, which is a Middle Stone Age technology. So this is not it. This is getting close to not modern times, but it's starting. Things are starting to ramp up at this point, technology wise. So it's not that big of a leap to think houses and megaliths are that far away, and they're not really in the big scheme of things. From this time period, we can see the what's the word I'm looking for? The foundation for what we consider the foundation.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually, you say that, and I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson. He calls the Blombos drawing, it's the earliest remnant of human culture. So it's basically the first time that a human left behind something that is distinctly human.
Yeah. And so they were doing this with they were making bifacial points. So they were on both sides. They were flaked and whatever. They were using fairly advanced flake techniques and heat treating stones. There's evidence that they were heat treating the stones, either to, break them down or shape them or however. I mean, heating stones is actually an early way that they used to mine.
Mm-hmm.
They would heat the rock, and they would even enlarge caves by building a fire in the cave and letting it get really, really hot and making the stone brittle so that they could remove more stone easily with the tools that they had on hand to make a larger place to stay.
Yeah.
They were planning. They were just like Wonderwerk. They were planning. They had a group, a society, a clan, whatever you want to call it. And so there was belonging there. And these weren't just people wandering around in in the wilderness. These were people who were making a home for themselves and surviving. And from what I can see is how long they were there, they were thriving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know, and it talks about, I think it was Blombos, or Wonderworks, one or the other. You'll have to correct me on it if I'm wrong. One of them where they actually had, early farmers, and then they also had guano excavators. What's the word? I don't even know. That really tore through part of all of that cave. And luckily they didn't go down so deep that they tore through all of this that they're finding now.
Yeah. I'm thinking that was probably Wonderwork. Blombos is kind of hard to get to.
I bet it was Wonderworks then.
I'm not sure. I missed that part. But I mean, the archaeologists found multiple hearths. So places where they had fire, where they did cooking, where they did, this is where people live. You live around the kitchen in your house today. They found animal bones from game that they hunted. They didn't just find stuff. They weren't wandering around and eating carrion. Shellfish remains. They were catching their own food. I mean, the ocean are full of food, and they were taking advantage of this. And basically, the remains of stone tool factory type stuff. And they can find all the little flakes where they were sitting and working and making stuff.
It was Wonderwork, by the way. I just looked it up. And it was guano miners, not excavators.
Guano miners, yeah.
Yes, technically it would be a miner at that point.
So, I mean, you're seeing the beginning of symbolic thought, of art, makeup, painting, tool making. They had a society. These were not. They were technically cavemen. Okay, I'll give you that. But they weren't.
Sure.
They weren't
simple. It's more of an address than a description of what they're doing. But
that's a good way to put it.
Yes, I'm a caveman. This is something I was looking at. This is the same picture on the left is the same picture that Pam was showing earlier, the oldest known piece of art. If you look over here on the right to the breakdown, that's 5 millimeters, that line. So this whole thing's only, several centimeters long. And the way that the lines are, they've determined that they continued on. This is only a tiny little sliver, a tiny piece of a much larger piece of artwork.
Yeah.
Which
could have been an animal.
That kind of blew me away when I was just kind of looking at it. I thought I'd bring it up, but
that's a great picture you found.
Yeah, that is a good picture. That could be, part of a picture of an animal or what have you that might have been on a wall or a larger piece of stone, or maybe a grave marker. You can't tell.
Yeah.
Could have been the Declaration of Independence or something. It could have been a lot of things at that size, but that it was a much larger thing that kind of blew me away when I was looking at it and thought I'd share. That's why I wrote that.
Yeah, and look at the stone itself. Look how smooth it's rounded off. Where it, obviously by looking at the lines, it hasn't always been that way, and it was chipped away. But look how smooth it is now. That speaks to the age.
And the pigment is.
This could have been a stone tablet full of commandments or something like that someone smashed, and this could have been important, and somebody smashed it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much human history. We only have a fraction of human history. If you say that human history started 10,000 years ago, we've been taught, 9,000 years ago, we have evidence they were making beer 9,000 years ago, so
it was safer to drink than water.
100,000 or 500,000 years, you name it, they probably, maybe not the technology we're used to, but they had kings and queens, or their equivalents. We're talking groups that may have ruled areas the size of a county or a state.
Mm-hmm.
think a county would have been giant in comparison for something like that. And honestly, as much as I hate to say it, wars were probably fought over these giant
Resources,
caves, which are,
Oh,
it's
I'm
a
sure.
built-in shelter. Why wouldn't you
Yeah.
fight over it?
Safety. Look at the safety of a cave when you're trying to defend against,
Yeah.
whatever animals are out there.
And
Especially
Blombos,
if you look at how large some of the animals were at the time.
yeah. Like I said, there was megafauna and hungry megafauna.
Well, they were
Yeah.
talking about there were giant lemur in the area that were the size of silverback gorillas. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Hopefully they were nice, like they are now.
Well, yeah, they generally are, but like all
They can
monkeys,
tear
they
you up.
probably fling poo. But I digress.
Ian said it's probably a shopping list, and Julie said it's probably children's homework. Could be either, actually.
You never know. But I mean, like Blombos, let's face it, it was in a very food-rich area. It would not surprise me if we found evidence of early warfare, because this was a prime real estate.
Highly coveted area.
Yeah, I mean, the food was there. These people were eating well. They were living well. They had fireplaces around. There was a place of belonging.
Yeah.
And obviously they thrived. They were there for a long time. So
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's crazy. So
These were good ones, Mark. Good choice.
yeah, and I'm surprised we got through it. Of course, we were just kind of speed running it, but just the time scales.
Yeah.
Time scales are what gets me, and how complex. So here's my deal. I'm going to get on the Atlantis track, so don't think I'm cray cray.
Please look who you're talking to.
Right.
You met us.
Exactly. So if all this stuff was going on, let's fast forward. We're up to 75,000 years ago. Okay, so flash forward to 20 to 12,000 years ago. It is not at all. We had 500,000 years ago Lincoln logs. So what if this is a what if tomorrow production? What if Atlantis wasn't the Bronze Age civilization that we see through Plato? What if it was a wood and cloth and fur and skin and sinew civilization? Wooden boats, wooden built. The height of technology was wood and rope and possibly fabric. They could easily have traversed the oceans in wooden boats with hide sails. We know that the Polynesians traveled to South America, just through the genetics and stuff. It was possible. And so what if 12,000 years ago or 13,000 years ago or however long ago, there was a civilization, but it was made of these
I'm sure there were
things that
I'm sure there
just
was more than one.
disappear over time. There would
Absolutely,
not be
yeah.
anything except for maybe a couple of Lincoln logs here
Mhm.
or what have you, or the stone tools. Think about, you could, with the kind of tools that they had, build ships, build houses, and what have you, and it proves it. And so what if there was a great civilization, but it was a Stone Age civilization or
If
a
you
Wood
look-
Age civilization?
I want to say it was in the Great Lakes. Just recently, they found boats that were underwater and had been there for like at least 3,000 years.
Right.
But they were kept that way at the time because that kept them from rotting out and from, being stolen or whatever. But mostly it kept them sound. Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Well-
and the only reason they're still around is because they were left underwater. And
Well, and how many of those boats on the bottom of how old are those boats on the bottom of the Black Sea that they found
oh man,
that are almost intact? They're
yeah.
almost, they're 5, 6, 7,000 years old, I think.
Hmm.
I'll have to look that up to tell you for sure, but they're ancient. They're super ancient and super deep. Just makes you wonder what all has been lost.
Way
and
more
that-
than what we know for sure, and what
way
we
more
are.
than what we know.
It's
Way
one of those. It's like what we learned in school. 30,000 years ago, we were living like everyone we were just talking about, which is the newest one is well over double that, and they were living that way. And to see the amount of progress that they had, even that shorter period of time, 75,000 years ago. And then to find out that there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, even before that we're doing similar things. You can see there was an escalation of technologies and stuff like that over the generations. Of
So you
course,
want to know
but,
what else blows my mind? These aren't the only sites.
True.
These are the three
not even
big
close.
sites. There are at least 5 or 6 others that I didn't look into at all that have similar stories. And possibly a future episode we can go through those.
That'd be cool.
Things that shouldn't exist according to what we learned when we grew up. That
Jimmy
would
said,
be
well,
science
well,
fiction, or just nuts.
even that first one you discussed, which is 500,000 years ago,
Yeah,
where it's just we're just finding a couple of Lincoln log type fitted together pieces of
a few
wood.
wooden tools.
That would seem to me like if you're doing that level of construction, you've probably got small towns and even
Villages, small towns, maybe
things like that, so that there's an actual structured what we might think of something that would be in the 1400s or something like that. That could possibly exist. Maybe not so much metalwork.
And again, how much stuff are we walking over that we don't have the trained eye to
Right. Because
understand?
if it's all wood, it's all disintegrated by now.
Right. A wooden society would not last long at all. And when you have a catastrophe like the Younger Dryas come along, and then between the glaciers and the flooding and whatnot, most of these areas would have probably been on the coast, like Blombos. Blombos was a couple kilometers from the ocean. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. If it was right on the ocean,
It'd be gone.
it would have been gone because the water level came up so high. It's on the coast now. It was a couple kilometers
Right
away.
now. But I wouldn't consider that as close as it could. We had a couple of pictures there where you can see the water. It's right there.
Yeah, it's right
outside
there.
the thing. I wouldn't consider that a safe place to try and survive anywhere, because the next big storm that comes along, half of that ocean's going to be in your
That's
doorstep.
probably
and pouring
why
into
it
the
got
pit.
abandoned.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was probably abandoned because of the flooding at the end of the Younger Dryas. Because the water level would have been out. They would have had to walk for 30, 40 minutes to get to the water from there when they were living there.
And you can't drink seawater anyway, so that wouldn't be any reason to be anywhere near that, because that would be too easily contaminated too.
Right.
Something that we need to look at too, which is exciting, and Julie made me think of it when she said, what will our children and our children's children discover? Look at what we've learned just with simple technology like Google Earth. Look at all of the pyramids and the different civilizations that they're finding in the rainforests, that we had no idea because it was so covered over.
And the signs of
Yeah.
cities and towns out in the middle of the Sahara.
Yeah. I mean, they
not
found
even
ships in
been
the
looked at.
Sahara, so that tells you a lot. And even in our area in Kansas, this used to be a sea. It used to be, what was it called? The Intercontinental Sea or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. And there's
Where we're
tons.
sitting was all underwater a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can get real Frenchy with it, but the facts speak for themselves. We've gone back at least 2 million years ago. So we had people getting together. We had them making stone tools. We had them living together and surviving together in groups. And you get to 500,000 years ago, you have evidence of building wooden structures, fairly complex builds, whatever it was that they built, whether it was a walkway, whether it was the bottom for a building or what have you. They were thinking, they were planning, they were building, and they were living together. They weren't, all of them, now I'm going to say it, probably a lot of them were nomadic, but we have evidence that not all of them were.
No, they weren't.
Also, and I really didn't cover it, there was evidence of early agriculture, and I think some of these other sites probably talk about earlier signs of agriculture. This is just not what we were taught. This is not the image of the caveman or the classic pictures from the Museum of Natural History in the Smithsonian of the Neanderthals wearing skins and carrying around clubs.
Big club. Yeah.
Ooga ooga.
Yeah, right.
Dragging the woman
that's
by
what
the
we were
hair.
taught,
Yeah.
And even recently, look at the Geico commercials with the cavemen. It's all that very, comedic. Oh, they were dummies kind of thing.
Yeah, they weren't.
No, they were smart. It may not have been the smart like we know with our technology that we have now, but they were smart in different ways.
Well, and see, they were just developing the methods for preserving information. Think of what, and it might have happened. We don't know because it would have been destroyed. Were they writing, scrolls and keeping track of things and information? We know from Göbekli Tepe they were capable of fairly complex mathematics and calculating where the sun would come up and go down on the equinoxes and whatnot. They were not done. I can't calculate that.
No,
they did.
I think a lot of that stuff is just direct observation. The sun comes up and the light comes through the cave, and it throughout the year they notice, hey, it's at a different spot every day. It's a little further this way, and then it comes back. At each sunrise or whatever. So they would be able to map that out just on the cable. Those drawings we were just looking at might have been it.
And they would be paying more attention to it than we are because we have time pieces. We don't have to.
Well, and they live their life around the weather, and the weather changes due to how long the days are, where we are around the sun. And so they learned to plan to build their own solar calendars from direct observation. Then they were able to translate that into stone circles or wooden circles. We found wood hinges, where they were doing the same thing with wooden posts. And if they were building with wood, we would never find them.
No. Well, prime example, look at, we have it's only like 9 miles from where we live, Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah.
Pa Ingalls built the log cabin, and then they found out it was Indian territory and they got removed. And when they were looking for where in Montgomery County that log cabin was, and they narrowed it down, all they found was a foundation
and a well.
And the well. And that's all that was left. And that was less than 100 years.
Yeah. That wasn't that long. Stuff like that left out doesn't last, as long as people think it would. I remember when I was a kid seeing these houses that were just shells falling in on themselves.
Yeah.
Some of them were only 50 to 80 years old. What you would consider a fairly modern house. And I've gone by, recently, and those houses that were falling down when I was a kid, you're lucky to find a stone foundation out there.
There's a house in town that I think of that some of my friends lived in when my son was 5 years old, my oldest son, and he's 36 now. So within that time frame, that house it's almost they're getting ready to tear it down, and it was a beautiful house when I was there. But it's gone.
If there's not the maintenance,
it was not maintained at all.
That stuff just goes away, and it goes away
quickly.
fast.
Yeah,
in a lifetime. My dad was telling me that these ruins, he remembered the people that lived there.
Yeah.
And he said it was a nice house when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My uncle and I used to stop by there and say hi all the time. It's a ruin.
There was a house when I was in high school. There was a house out west of town. It was on the very top of a hill, and it was where Kincaid's lived. It was their old homestead.
I have to stop you guys really, really quick. I just want to give a shout out. The dude over Enzo's shoulder finally got lucky. He got the girl to kiss him.
Did he? Oh. Finally?
Good job, buddy.
He has been through two other girls, and the guys keep cock blocking him, and he finally got her. She kissed him, and then they danced.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was like a whole side story. It was a whole side story going on for me, and I was like rooting for him. I was like, come
everyone
on!
Can go, give him the time marker. How long ago? Everybody can go back and watch it.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. Anywho, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was just like...
That's funny.
I think he's going to get it again. He's going to get it.
Yay!
For those of you who are listening,
I did it.
Enzo's background is a live stream of a bar.
And it's spring break, so yeah.
During spring break.
Yeah, this is the Elbow Room Bar in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Ian said, I too have been distracted by Enzo's bar.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the blonde girl behind him, behind his other shoulder,
the one that keeps dancing,
she is drunk off her butt. And she keeps trying to hit on her friend who wants nothing to do with it. She tried to kiss her like 4 or 5 times, and she was just like, no.
See, if this was hundreds of thousands of years ago, you'd have to have cave paintings for all this as my background.
Yeah, moving cave paintings.
We have barely advanced.
All right, so
there she goes again.
Yay!
Yeah, he's doing great. He's made it to second base a couple times, or first base a couple times now.
Yep.
You got both shoulders going here.
Oh, we got another one. She's giving it up tonight.
I'll just get out of the way.
There you go.
The entire
he got some booty. I saw it.
Yeah, I saw the hand grab.
Yeah, dude's getting some tonight.
Come on now.
I digress.
Dude's getting some.
So, I mean, I'm not smart enough to break all this down. Everything we have talked about, except for that, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I keep coming back to this. How much stuff has been intentionally been done away with?
Yeah.
We've always said that, we've talked about how some of these museums have had policies. Well, we don't want to talk about that because it doesn't, push the narrative that we support. How much of this stuff has been intentionally done away with?
It's such a crime for history of our species. It drives me crazy.
Well, in recent history, okay, let's not super recent, but it's recent in this time frame. So when the Spanish came over to South America, the Aztecs were producing, I forget how many thousands of pages of paper, like we would use today, not as fine, but paper, a year, and they had records going back hundreds of years, and astronomy observations and all this stuff. The Spanish took it upon themselves to destroy it all because it was pagan trash.
Mhm.
So how much, all that history, all that knowledge, all their oral history that they had been carefully recording, just gone in a decade.
Yeah.
Everything that made them just wiped out. So even if our ancestors were writing stuff down, it would probably have been on leather or, bark or something like that. It just would not survive.
What were we talking? Maybe it was with you guys. We were talking about the fact that, I don't remember if it was or not, like all these scrolls were written on for so many years, and then they don't last forever and they start to disintegrate. But you've only got a finite amount of people that can rewrite those, and a finite amount of material that can be written on. So you have to go through and determine, what are you going to save? Say you got 1,000 scrolls, but you can only save 100 of them. What 100 are you going to choose? Well, a lot of the times it was
Religious.
Yeah, they would save the religious things because it was the monks that were doing the transcribing,
Yeah.
and they would choose what they wanted to save, and so we lost a lot of things that were not religious.
And that's fairly modern.
Yeah.
So what happens if these people were, even if they were pictograms, keeping track of events and stuff like that? What happens when you have an apocalypse, which we did about 13,000 years ago?
Yeah.
What happens to all that? It's gone.
Yep.
In a matter of days, weeks, or years, it's all gone. Unless it's on stone, in stone.
Yeah, carved.
Or, something like that. It's just gone.
Yeah.
And the human population dropped down to almost nothing. We almost went extinct. So they had more important things to worry about, other than writing. They had survival to worry about, and rebuild from scratch. Whatever it was that came before was gone. Just wiped out. So it just goes to show you how fragile a thing we take it for granted. We take our civilization for granted. How fragile a thing it really is. In 500 years, there wouldn't be much left of our civilization.
No.
In 1,000 years, there wouldn't be, a few monuments and stuff. In 10,000, what are you going to find? You're going to find sand, maybe some metal.
Ian said monks were the only ones who could read and write. That's why we have such scant history from the Anglo-Saxon period. Yep, you're right.
Correct. He's correct. So even if there was a writing system, 20,000 plus years ago, only a few people knew it. They wouldn't have probably had universal education. And it would have been fairly rare. I mean, even fairly modern times, books were rare. They were more valuable than gold. So we take that stuff for granted now, but they would have been the most precious things, and they would have just disappeared because there was nobody, the people who would have learned to read or write at that time would have been too important to know how to survive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Their job would have been to read or write, to keep the records, to teach the people or what have you. And they might have been the rulers. Who knows?
I was going to say, yeah, you got the rulers that they want the people oppressed, so they, aren't able to read and write, so they're easier to control too. So there's a lot of that going on in the background too.
Oh yeah, even in modern times, you look out on the internet today. I mean, what's going on?
Yep.
So if you control the information, you can control everything.
You control the past.
Yeah.
I absolutely. I mean, like I said, only a couple decades ago, this stuff would have been swept under the rug or hidden or destroyed.
What is that saying? Something about history being written by the victor.
Yeah, history is written by the winner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind, folks. And the winner always wants to look like a winner.
Yep, they're
Not
always
a
right.
sibling backstabbing sleeves.
Control the narrative. Absolutely, Tony.
Watch TV.
Mhm.
Control the
this
narrative
kind of
and
stuff.
follow the money.
In ancient structures and stuff like that. For me, it always kind of goes back to like, the early settling of North America and, this part of the, United States area, the center part, where there were thousands of mound structures all over, especially throughout like the Southeast and stuff like that, where, these ancient mound structures that when new people, the new settlers would come in, would just plow them under and just destroy them. It's like that. Oh, this was
Or
just all
build
flatland
houses
when we
on
got
top
here.
of them or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
It was out of the
Just the disrespect just really makes me angry thinking about it.
Oh, the lost history.
Oh yeah, and we're probably going to be talking. I know for a fact we're going to be talking about more of that stuff this year. Lost history,
Yay.
missing stuff. So I am going to post all of these sources up in the show notes tonight. I hope that everybody has enjoyed this chat as much as I have.
It's a fun one.
Please, if you are interested in this, do your own research. Dig into this because it is pretty amazing stuff. But with that, I don't really have a whole bunch more to go unless you guys do. But
No.
I've thought this was
Yay
a
to
pretty
the guy
amazing-
in the green shirt. He's in the bathroom right now, by the way. He went to the bathroom.
Yeah, the bathroom's
back.
back here.
Keep waiting.
They've actually blocked out where the bathroom is. Someone must have
Oh, that's
been
funny.
seen in the bathroom and got angry about it. I don't know.
No.
Yeah. But yay, the green guy. Like, go back and watch from the beginning if you want, like, a side story. He started out on the other side of Enzo, back in that little area that goes out to the patio. And he had like a one girl, and then some dude came in and kind of cock blocked him, and then he had a second girl, and her girlfriend came in and like took her away, and he like moseyed over there to her. And there was the winner. Third term.
There's somebody else talking to her now, though.
She's cute.
Oh, yeah.
We'll find out if she's
He's back. He's back.
Okay.
He's on it.
Yep.
Back off, people. I was here first.
Yeah. But there was a dude in like a blue sleeveless shirt sitting in there just interrupting him the whole time.
Oh, he just
was
got a
sitting
kiss
there with
again.
her. So I was just like, come on, get out of there, buddy. He got her.
All right.
Like sands through the hourglass.
That's right.
The days of our drinking.
Even though we're talking about civilization that's nearly 1 million years old, the same thing's going on right behind us. Every
Oh,
Yeah,
right
I mean,
behind us. Yeah.
You go back 2 million years ago, the clothing may be different, the drinking vessels
That's right.
might be different, but the same sort of thing. And
Same
honestly
story of
believe
life
that's the way
going on
alcohol
right
was
behind us.
invented.
Yeah. Dude's
For
gonna go
sure.
back to the hotel and make a cave painting.
That's a little disturbing.
That's not red ochre either. Yeah, that's
Maybe I should start editing. I don't know. I never edited anything. For those of you who are listening, I apologize. We've gotten off on the wrong track. But I mean, it's history in the making.
It's spring break.
So
It is
good in the
spring
making.
break.
future. Yeah, the ancestors of their kids that they'll make will be digging up old cell phones in the landfill.
Glass brick.
Watching this video going, Grandpa?
They used to. This was what they worshipped up. They worshipped their memes. They would spend hours and hours every day with this buried in their face, looking at their memes.
Mhm.
And they're not wrong.
No, they're not.
No, not really. Not really. All right, folks. That's all I have for tonight. I hope everybody has enjoyed this topic as much as I have. We will revisit it, and I will get those sources posted up in the show notes. And I hope everybody enjoys them as much as I did. So
That's great.
All right, guys. That said, we'll see y'all next time. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Night.